Hey everybody, I just wanted to say hi and welcome you. This is live from my office, and thought I'd take some time to share some more personal stories. Some stories from my past, and maybe a word of encouragement for you who are listening either live, can be here and joining me here in a few moments live, or for you or you're going to be watching this video later. Hopefully you enjoy behind the scenes at church in my office. This is where I probably spend a good majority of my time prepping for services, doing the administration for the church, and so on. So anyways, I figured I'd wait a few minutes to see if anybody gets on and joins us. And we'll just wait just a few moments, and then we'll get started here. Hopefully you're doing well. If you're watching this later, I hope and pray that the Lord's blessing you and that you're spending time in His presence, and maybe taking some extra time to do some more study and some more reading, and spending extra time with your family and loved ones. And it's a kind of a forced sabbatical, so hopefully you're getting lots of rest. And if you're like me, where your workload has actually increased, hopefully the Lord gives you endurance to continue. I know some people who aren't laid off or aren't at home are going, man, everybody keeps talking about all this rest, and they're kind of begging for it. But I know myself, I was in a pastor's meeting, and hey, it looks like somebody's come on. Hello. It doesn't show your name on my screen yet, but as soon as it does, I'll say hi personally to you. But I know some people are, like I was in a pastor's meeting the other day, and they were talking about the workload that we are still doing what we normally do, but now we're also doing stuff like this, videos and, different things to be able to reach out to people. So, hey guys, good to see you. It looks like Marissa is on. Hi Marissa, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. May the Lord encourage you today, and just going to be telling some personal stories today from my office. And I've been doing this live cast here for a few weeks now, and I'm kind of wanting to make this into a normal thing and just tell some stories from my past and give a little word of encouragement. So I see Marissa is on. I'm not seeing the others yet. Let me see if I can hit the button here that shows people. Oh, hey Sarah, how you doing? It's good to see you. Hopefully you and your family are doing well. So God bless you guys. So good to see you guys on. And as soon as it pops your name up here, I'll greet you. And we're going to get started here in just a moment. Like I said, I'm going to tell you a few stories. So we're live from my office. If you've never seen my office before, you can check out a previous video, and I kind of walked around talking about everything. But I'll pick this up and try to do it as smooth as possible. This is where I spend a majority of my time. And if you've ever been in my office, you know what this looks like. But believe it or not, a lot of people who have attended the church for years have never been in my office before. So I kind of thought, well, if I'm going to do a video, let's go ahead and do it here, from my office live, so people can see where I do most of my work. So anyways, it's good to see everybody. I see Sarah's on, Marissa's on, and on lunch break. I gotcha. Ooh, 16 hours. Wow, that is crazy. Hey, Dell, good to see you, buddy. Wow, 16 hours. Well, hopefully you get a little bit of encouragement here in a few moments, and we'll go ahead and get started. Well, anyway, it's good to see everybody. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Yeah, that's true. It is good on the pocketbook. That's for certain. Wow, that's a lot of hours. So I wanted to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about how I got called into the ministry, how I became a pastor. And it was my senior year of high school. And I remember going to the church and praying, going, God, and I legitimately just was crying out to God because I wanted to do what He wanted me to do. I mean, the Lord had touched my life. I had just dedicated my life to Him my senior year of high school, and I really just wanted to do what He wanted me to do. So I was at the altar, and I'm praying, and the Lord said, you made me a promise many years ago, and I want you to fulfill that promise. And I was praying and going, okay, God, what do you want me to do for my life? And then He reminded me of a promise I made when I was a little kid. I don't even remember what I did. I think I had a bad report card. I had a bad grade or something. And I remember going, I'm going to be in big trouble. And I remember thinking, man, I'm going to be in big trouble if I show this to my parents. So I remember like throwing it away or doing something stupid as a kid. And I remember praying to God, God, have mercy on me. Get me out of this, Lord. If you get me out of this, I'll do anything you want. I'll be a pastor. I'll be a missionary. I'll be an evangelist, God. I don't care. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do that if you just get me out of this. And I remember as a kid and praying at that altar in high school now, I remember the Lord reminding me of so much detail about a memory that I completely had forgotten about. And he reminded me of the promise that I made that I would do whatever he asked me to, be a pastor, evangelist, or a missionary, or whatever. And in doing so, he reminded me there at that altar that I made that promise and that he wants me to keep it, that he wants me to be a pastor. So that's how I got called on the ministry, was because I did something as a kid that I begged him to get me out of, and he did. I remember not getting in trouble for it. I remember that it wasn't even a big deal. But as a kid, you know, you're gonna die. Your parents are gonna kill you. You know, that type of thing. But he got me out of it. He was very merciful to me, and then he reminded me, praying at the altar, just crying out, God, what do you want me to do in life? What do you want me to be? Do you want me to follow my dad's path? He had a wonderful career as a electrician, you know, in multiple businesses, and I was thinking maybe I'm supposed to follow his path. He made a good living. I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to, you know, go to college and do something else. Maybe, you know, so I was just really crying out to God, and I just remember him going, you made me a promise those many years ago. Now I want you to keep it. And that's when he called me to be a pastor. And that was in 93. Yeah, a few years ago. And so in 93, he called me to be a pastor. In 94, I graduated. And then in 2000... let's see, 96, I actually graduated from master's, and then in 96, I was a vocational youth pastor in St. Helens, and then in 2000, I moved to Klamath Falls, and I was a youth pastor there, and then I've been here on the coast since 2006 as a senior pastor. So, yeah, time flies. It's kind of crazy how that all works out, but I just remember at that altar as a kid, crying out to God, going, God, you know, save me, my parents are going to kill me. And him, you know, having mercy on me and not getting me in trouble. And then him reminding me, I didn't remember that story from, do you remember everything you said growing up? I don't. And I just remember thinking to myself, praying at that altar, God, what do you want me to do? And him reminded me of the details of it. And I was just like, wow, that's kind of blown away. So that was over 20 years ago. And it's one of those life moments where it kind of impacts your life. And you remember what you were doing, you know, where you were at and all those type of things. And I was in Kelso Assembly of God at the altar saying, God, what do you want me to do in life? And he called me into the ministry. So anyways, that's how the Lord called me into the ministry. And I wanted to share a word of encouragement for you. This is found in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 1. I think it's extremely prudent for our times to know this verse. So let me read it to you real quick. It's 2 Corinthians and chapter 6, verse 1. It says, working together with him, then we appeal to you, not to receive the grace of God in vain. For he says, in a favorable time I listened to you, and in a day of salvation I helped you. I'm thinking, as a little kid, that's exactly what he did. And in that time, I actually made the Lord a promise, and he asked me to keep it. But I'm going to keep reading here. It says, behold, now is the favorable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. We put no obstacle in anyone's way, so that no fault may be found with our ministry. But as servants of God, we commend ourselves in every way by great endurance, in affliction, in hardships, in calamity, beatings, imprisonment, riots, labors, sleepless nights, hunger. And then he transitions. He talks about all these hard things he does to share with the people the great salvation we have in Christ. And then he transitions here and he says, by purity, knowledge, patience, kindness, the Holy Spirit, genuine love, by truth speaking or speech, and the power of God, with the weapons of righteousness for the right hand and for the left, through honor and dishonor, through slander and praise. We are treated as impostors and yet are true, as unknown and yet well known, as dying and behold, we live, as punished and yet not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor but yet making many rich, as having nothing, but yet possessing everything. I love this type of the way that he comes across here in the text is so neat, because it kind of reminds me as the church today. So many people consider the church to be imposters and hypocrites or whatever, and when it comes to most Christians, that's just not true. Most Christians are good people, love Christ, love the Lord, love their neighbors. There's a lot of great Christians out there, and I think that so many look at them as imposters, but yet aren't. They're true, and I look at my own life and the calling of God on my own life, and I look at this time we live in now, that even though there's some people that are nervous and scared about it, and I'm going, man, let's just rejoice. God's going to get us through this. The last pandemic, God got the church through it, and the church thrived. And I'm telling you right now, today is the day of salvation. Don't worry about tomorrow. Let tomorrow worry about itself. But today's the day of salvation, that God saves us. I mean, God is with us. He never leaves us, never forsakes us. He loves us. Doesn't matter if we are sick, if we're not sick, if we're healthy, if those ones around us are. We want to pray for them, and of course, ask the Lord to bring healing to him. But on the other hand too, today's his day. Today's that day of salvation. He loves you. He cares for you. He's got you in his hands. He just loves you guys so much. And I look back at my life and how God called me into the ministry, and the different things that I've walked through in my time, and I'm excited to see what God has for us. I mean, these are exciting times, even though they're hard. They're exciting because in the midst of hardship, like it said in the verse, in the midst of these things, God moves. God does amazing things. In the midst of hard times, he says, today is the day of salvation. So that's my devotional thought for the day, and that's actually from our Bible reading plan from yesterday. So if you're following along with our church's Bible reading, that's from yesterday, and hopefully you were encouraged by that, reading yesterday as well. And so anyways, love you guys. Hope you're all doing good. Oh, hey, it's the Jensens. Good to see you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, awesome, guys. Well, anyways, this is live from my office. Hopefully you guys got encouraged by hearing my story from my past on how the Lord called me into the ministry. And hopefully you're encouraged today from that word, that today's the day of salvation. So God bless you guys. I'm gonna hit the road because we're doing some work in the sanctuary, and I got to get up there on a ladder. So I'm going to spend most of my day going up and down ladders. So be praying for me. I'm a desk jockey. It's hard work. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye. That's if I can figure out how to shut the phone off. I see people doing it.